India versus China. He could lure Russia. I believe that he's going to take the Middle East and merge it into a Russian settlement. I think what he'll probably do is increase the sanctions on Iran, very heavy oil sanctions, oil export sanctions, and reduce the sanctions on Russia if Russia comes to a peace as part of a peace deal with Ukraine. So what that does is it short circuits funding to Hamas and Houthis and the other guys,
Yeah.
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah.
Yeah, and at the same time brings Russia into the fold, makes Russia less real. So Russia will become the exporter of oil that Iran is trying to be. Not that
Hmm.
Russia.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Markets and Madness, the place where we try to figure out, where we discuss what happens when economics, politics, and personalities all move in different directions. Later, we're going to have Mike O'Reilly join us, who was with us last week. Mike's got some background in the political world. And right now, it's just Tim and I. So, Tim, what are your thoughts on the inauguration and the pardons and all the above?
Well, I think the Trump dance was very impressive with the village people. I mean, that was kind of pretty much the highlight. I thought the big news yesterday, more than Trump, was the pardons, the
Biden pardons.
Biden pardons. It was, I guess, poor form to issue them and announce it while he's still.
And even the left-leaning media was replaying, or at least I saw it on X, the comments that Biden made when he first was inaugurated 4 years ago, saying things like, "You won't see preemptive pardons from me. We're going to do things very differently."
He set a really strange precedent. Any president now has got to think, well, he did it, so I'll just because there's
And I
always
read
going to be
something
this
else, and I don't
guy.
know how true it is because obviously I'm not a legal scholar, but it said in order to accept a pardon, you have to admit guilt.
Read that.
This said, in order to accept the pardon, you have to. There was a law going back to like the 1930s that the Supreme Court ruled, and I'm sure I could find it, that you have to admit guilt. If you don't admit guilt, then the pardon is not enforceable. And the only reason why you have a pardon is because you're guilty of something.
Well, first of all, we're talking about preemptive pardons. So there was no charges brought and no trial, and so there's no guilt to begin with, right? Preemptive pardon. This is like, I mean, Biden should take his picture and put a little mustache on it like the Monopoly guy and give out get out of jail free cards. This is really a bizarre chain of events.
And another piece that I read said,
At any rate, the pardons are, I mean, atrocious. There's House committees investigating this stuff.
and yeah, this was it. It said that in the future now, any president can hire somebody to commit crimes and then pardon them prior.
Where's Nixon when you need him?
Yeah. Like, Tim, I'm going to hire you to knock that guy off, but I'm going to give you a preemptive pardon. So you're above the law.
It was a startling day yesterday, just watching the press conference as he was signing the executive orders. It was really what a difference between the two
8 years ago.
administrations. One walking
Well,
away on this year's back.
and also how he was 8 years ago. Like he knows
Yeah.
the lay of the land now.
Well, I don't know if you ever really know because it's a constantly changing quagmire. You know, they're moving in a lot of different directions. But I would not be surprised to see a major effort now to to convince some Democrats to change parties.
I know there was rumors about Fetterman doing it, and I just saw a clip this morning where he said I would make a very bad Republican.
Yeah, I don't see that happening, but that's in the Senate. Think they really need the guys in the House. So you could see a move towards, come on over and you can have this committee and all of that deal. I mean, that's the way I would go.
Yeah, the piece that I saw yesterday, he really praised Johnson for doing a great job with a slim majority, and we're going to get you more. He said something like that. Wait till we
Yeah, I
get you
did notice that.
225. Wait till we get you 225. So he does have something in the background there.
Yeah.
And he pardoned the J6ers. Made
Yeah, he did
mention
that. He
he
did
made
that.
mention to Pelosi not accepting 10,000 troops and admitting guilt on her daughter's podcast.
Yeah. All in all, I thought he was pretty good. I thought his inaugural speech, while Biden was just sitting there, was
Golden
basically,
Age of America.
well, yeah, and he talked about what's been going on for the last 4 years.
And
He
I
was.
saw that. I don't know if you noticed it, but it looked like Biden looked at his watch. Like how much longer do I have to sit through this?
For me, his inaugural address was a mission statement. It was, look, this is where we are, and this is where we're going, and this is my mission. And several commentators have made the point that it was more like a State of the Union.
Exactly. I was just going to say
And it
that.
really was. It really was. The fair point. But we're in a new world now. I mean, drill baby drill is a reality. He did say something about BRICS. Did you notice that?
No, I
He was
missed that.
signing the executive order. Somebody asked him about Spain and tariffs. I don't remember the question exactly. I didn't hear it all. But he said, are they part of BRICS? And the reporter really didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, because BRICS is against us, and I'm going to do something about BRICS. BRICS is no more. So I think he's shattering BRICS. I really do.
Hmm.
Because they're going to have to live without sales to the U.S., basically. And that's his weapon.
And I saw the Premier of India sent a congratulatory note, looking forward to working with you to make our two countries help each other and help the world. So Modi, is that his name? Uh,
Yeah.
Prime Minister of India. Yeah.
That's a great card to play if he decides to play that, I think. India versus China. He could lure Russia. I believe that he's going to take the Middle East and merge it into a Russian settlement. I think what he'll probably do is increase the sanctions on Iran, very heavy oil sanctions, oil export sanctions, and reduce the sanctions on Russia if Russia comes to a peace as part of a peace deal with Ukraine. So what that does is it short circuits funding to Hamas and Houthis and the other guys,
Yeah.
Hezbollah.
Hezbollah.
Yeah, and at the same time brings Russia into the fold, makes Russia less real. So Russia will become the exporter of oil that Iran is trying to be. Not that
Hmm.
Russian oil, there's some differences between Russian oil and Iranian oil, but that said, that's a good enticement to end the war in Ukraine.
Did you see the clip? It was on X. It was Johnson speaking to, I guess he was being interviewed somewhere. And they asked him, he says, I was in the President Biden's office and I said to him, you have to explain why you signed this executive order about liquid natural gas. Why you shut it down? He said, I didn't do that.
Yeah,
He
so
said, he said, yeah, you shut it down a couple of weeks ago. No, yeah, you signed an executive order. He
why would
said,
I
"No,
do
it's
that?
good." Yeah. He says, oh, no, that was about taxes. He says, no, that was to shut down liquid natural gas production. He says he doesn't know what he was signing. And that's the comment that Mike made last week on his first day in office. He says, I don't know what I'm signing, but
Yeah,
they just
right.
put papers in front of him.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's almost like there was an autopilot here, and he really had no idea what direction we were going in.
Yeah.
Talk about
Yeah. Very disturbing.
his wife probably orchestrated that. Jill probably figured out she was in charge. Maybe
Well,
Obama threw her.
I think at the end she was in charge after they pushed him out. Like he didn't pardon Pelosi, right? No preemptive pardons to Pelosi.
I don't know. She's well, I guess you don't know what the House is doing in terms of
Right.
investigations.
If they look back and say Trump's point was, I offered him 10,000 troops for January 6th, and she denied it and then placed the blame. I don't know what's legally, enforceable, but
Okay, so that's politics. What about the markets? What's the impact of the markets here? I expected to see big rallies in Europe today. Overnight, futures were ticking up pretty good, and they seem to
I
have
just
settled
checked
down.
before we popped on, and we are pre-market, just so if anyone's wondering. And it looked like it was stable. Gold is still a little
Dollar's
bit higher.
strong.
Yeah.
Dollar's strong. Dollar's up, and it's up against oil, natural gas. Natural gas is down pretty good.
Take a look.
Natural gas was down 2%, I think, which is a not insignificant move. Oil was down. Gold is down. So dollar's firm.
All right, we have Mike joining us now. So just in time with the nice number 47 hat on. There you go.
Okay.
We'll,
Yeah, but I just wanted to show that I'm not biased or anything like that. Just,
Oh, no, no. Let me see you do the Trump dance.
good stuff, good stuff.
How
what were
are you,
your
Mike?
thoughts, Mike?
Well, I mean, my bar was pretty low. I thought it was unbridled success. He didn't get shot.
Yeah.
That was my bar.
Yeah.
Once Vance was sworn in, I felt comforted that at least we had a replacement for Trump if they put a bullet in his head. I was a little worried about that right up to the end.
I was like a nervous wreck the whole time. I mean, I don't know where the man gets his energy. I got tired watching it.
Yeah.
Seriously, I was actually worried about that, but I understand my thoughts. I understand he wants to be a unifier, and that's fine. That's great. It's even admirable. But I just feel that we as a country, we deserve and we really need accountability. A lot of stuff has happened. Pardons at 11:45 a.m. for his entire family and Fauci and the J6 Select Committee. The whole DIJ, the J6, destruction of evidence, everything that went on. It's almost endless. And I think we need, accountability. The purposely opening up the borders to illegal immigration, drugs, cartels, human trafficking. And if that disrupts the unification, come by, so be it. That's my thoughts. We need to go back. We need to look at this stuff. We need to clean it up. We need to find out who did what before we can actually move forward. That kind of stuff you can't just sweep under the rug.
Yeah. It's a big rug, too. There's
It
really
is.
a lot of stuff.
It is, yeah. It really is.
Do you, some of the executive orders that he signed already, they're talking about 1,000 that he signed yesterday and throwing pens into the crowd. That was interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
first
he's
day of
guest
work.
hosting the country, He's just like the Carson show, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it's really amazing to go from one extreme to the other, too. That's to me, the stark contrast is really remarkable. I got this image of Biden walking away from the cameras as people are shouting questions to him, and Trump sitting there signing orders, taking a press conference while he's doing it.
It's unbelievable. He answered more questions in the first day, I think, than Biden. I mean, honestly, I think, Biden walked into that crowd. I don't know. It looked like he thought maybe it was his birthday or something. Everybody was cheering and all. But it was interesting, that Trump stood up there and he did call it as it was. With the Biden sitting right there, he was calling about how horrible the prior administration was, and that's just the way that's the way it is. He called it as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I said to Tim earlier, and through all of that, it looked like Biden was looking at his watch, trying to figure out how much longer he's got to sit through this.
Yeah. Joe Biden was fuming, and the sharp contrast between Joe Biden and Melania. Melania looked like a gorgeous Clint Eastwood, and she was just sitting there waiting for Joe, go ahead and make my day, sort of thing.
I was looking for the spot on our hat with the little holes for the donkey's ear, but I didn't see that.
Yeah.
That it was an interesting look Melania had.
I don't know how
Show
many of
her
you
eye.
remember Reagan's inauguration. His theme was "Morning in America," and I really think that it was a replay of that. I mean, I flew back to 1980 all over again.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities there. That's for sure. Yeah, I hope because that was a good time.
Well, coming after Carter, the contrast was amazing, and I feel the same way right now.
Yeah, the only difference is, Reagan was coming after a weak president, but a good man. I don't think we're coming after a good man here.
See, that's right there. That's where we go wrong. Because imparting a moral judgment on a president is, maybe I'm just an immoral guy, I don't know. But to me, the president's supposed to be a manager. He's supposed to run the country and manage the company. I don't really give a shit what he does in his private life. I never faulted Clinton for what he did. I evaluated him as a president because that was his job. I don't
No,
evaluate his morals.
I agree with that, but when his private life interferes with with his presidential life, when his son takes a job in a country that he couldn't point on a map in a sober moment, and he's in an industry that he has no idea how it works, and he doesn't speak the language, and he's getting paid $1 million a year, and he's selling artwork, which is no more than scribble, and he have LLCs offshore and things like this. This is payment. This is buying influence. That's the kind of stuff that I want to know
Well,
about.
that's valid. And his son was his bag man, or at
Right.
least
I don't
the
care. I don't care if Biden, which he doesn't, and I'm not saying he does, but I don't care if Biden has 50 hookers a week. I don't care, and he doesn't. I don't care about that. But when he's selling influence, I care deeply about that.
My problem with him was telling the prosecutor, demanding that the prosecutor get fired and holding up $1 billion of U.S. taxpayer money as ransom. That
And
that was
bragging
my
about it. And
yeah.
bragging about it.
Yeah, well, bragging about it too. I mean,
That's just one. I wouldn't even call it a chapter. That's just one paragraph
yeah.
in the book. It's just one paragraph.
I'm glad this is over.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't think it should be over. I think we need to look back and find out exactly what happened to all of this. So I don't think there could be unity without answers. That's my point.
But will the left believe anything? If you put it out in black and white and show them this trail of the money, this trail of the comments, everything along, I believe that the left will just look and say, it's phony, it's fabricated, I don't buy it.
Well, include some people on the left in the investigations. Have a real, honest, bipartisan investigation.
Yeah, I'd love to
Well,
see that. I'd love to see that, and I guess unity would be sacrificed for that because we've got a model here that builds itself based on sensationalism, and people have confused their politics with religion. My father would say, "Don't argue politics with people or religion. Stay away from those two." And I would say, "Dad, it's the same thing now. People have bought their political beliefs as religious beliefs.
Yeah.
And once you start talking to me, if you believe that your God said somewhere that 2 + 2 = 11, if you believe that, and I show up with math and try to convince you it's 4, I might as well save my car fare. I'm not going to convince you. You brought
Right.
this on faith, and it can't be challenged. And we're in that place now.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
and I think that's, the country for the last, I don't know, 16 years, since the beginning of Obama's presidency, has
Really
been that
Clinton.
way. It's been very
Really Clinton.
polarized. It's going
Really
to take a
Clinton.
lot to bring that together.
I would argue that the polarization began with Clinton, and the evidence of that is the election of 2000, where 300 votes separated both candidates.
Yeah,
That's
that's a
polarization.
fair point.
Yeah. As Mayor Koch famously said, "Don't bother me with facts.
My mind's made up. Don't confuse me with facts.
Don't bother me with facts. The Empire State Building is the tallest building in the world."
I thought about Koch yesterday when I was watching Trump, and he gave his little speech after the inauguration where he walked out into that overflow room. And I thought I heard him say, "How am I doing?"
Yeah.
And that brought me back to Koch. How am I
Yeah.
doing?
That was it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
As the New Yorker, yeah, that's what it all goes back to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's for
Let
sure.
me ask you this, Mike. What do you think the odds are that we'll get a handful of Democratic congressmen moving over to the Republican side?
You mean actually physically switching parties?
Yeah.
I don't see it. And the reason I don't is because they may vote Republican, but to actually switch parties, Trump is only there for 4 years. If I'm a Democrat congressman, I may believe everything. I may be all in on Trump, but 4 years later, I don't know what's going to happen. And now it's like I may be hung out to dry here.
But is Pelosi the glue that kept that all together? And if so, she's not going to be there for another 4 years,
No, she
right?
won't.
Right. So if she's the glue, maybe it does come apart.
I don't know that they'll physically move. I could be. I hope I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
that's your opinion. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
I
what
don't think I would. I don't think I would.
If I were a Republican congressman in a blue state, I would get somebody else to start my car in the morning because, all they need are really one or two votes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Tim, they have these remote starters now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what you need. Maybe you should buy that stock.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. So we saw Drill Baby Drill. That was a
Yep,
famous quote yesterday.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. That was
No
great.
no comment. No comment on the dollar, no comment on any of the other economic pressing issues around that I've saw. I mean, did you guys see anything or realize anything?
I haven't seen anything on the markets. I mean, he signed, like you said, he signed a lot of executive orders. He kind of included it in sort of a press conference, which was great. You know, in the Oval Office, he had the national emergency down on the southern border, which allows him to mobilize the military, which is, I think the right thing to do. We have the force. Why not use it? But you do have to declare an emergency down there.
Yeah, he's done that, right? He declared an energy emergency and a border emergency.
Yeah, yeah,
And
massive.
he specifically changed the name to the Gulf of America instead of the
Yeah,
Gulf
I
of
don't know. I
Mexico.
don't know what the point of that is, to be quite
Well,
honest.
and I don't know how true it is, but I did read something on X that said one of Biden's executive orders was to stop drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. Well, it's not the Gulf of Mexico anymore. It's the Gulf of America now.
No,
I
it
don't know
isn't
if
until
that's
Congress
real.
changes it, I think.
Yeah,
What?
Congress has to change that, not
Well,
executive.
DeSantis, I saw this morning that DeSantis has already referred to it as the Gulf of America. We're talking about some weather alert, some weather coming in from the Gulf of America.
that's funny. Yeah,
Okay, let me give you a market update, guys. I'm looking at the futures markets. Stocks haven't opened yet. It's 9:17.
I don't know
Gold
what's
is
up.
off, down 11.50. Natural gas is down almost 4%. Crude oil is down almost 3%. The Dow is up about 0.4%. S&P 500 up same. Nasdaq up a bit more, and the Russell is up zero point 0.7. So the Russell is outperforming, the small stock index is outperforming other stocks, but they're all up. The dollar is stronger across the board, except against Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up a little over 2%, but the dollar is strengthened against currencies.
It's
And yields are
interesting,
lower.
liquid natural gas down.
Well, natural gas is down big,
Yeah,
almost
so it's
4%.
buy the rumor, sell the fact, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Is that you think that's what's happening?
Well, that's what the futures market's saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He did something with natural gas exports too. One of his executive orders. It's so many. It's going to take a
Yeah.
while to filter. I mean, guys have been up all night looking at this and already trading on it.
I think the Gulf of America. I think it's going to be like the battery tunnel's the battery tunnel. They could rename it the U-Carry tunnel, but it's still a battery tunnel. It's still going to be the Gulf of Mexico, no matter what you do,
Triborough Bridge, yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. But he has the mass deportation of millions of immigrants, which is the right thing to do. He's going to focus on the criminals first. And I saw some sort of survey where I think over 80% of Americans, all Americans, Democrats, Republicans, agree with that. No one's against deporting illegal immigrants who committed crimes here. So almost everybody's for that at least. And then
Yeah.
it gets kind of murky once you start talking about just deporting illegal immigrants. But at least starting with that, pretty much everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Did you see the crowds lined up in that cold weather?
Unbelievable, yeah.
Really incredible. I'd have to say at this point he's a popular president.
Yes, yes, very popular, yeah. I mean, for somebody that, you know, he was stopped at so many fronts, all of the lawsuits and criminal charges and, gunshots and everything else, for him to be, sworn in yesterday is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
You
they
know,
impeached him
As we
twice. I don't know that we've ever impeached the president and then elected him.
As we said earlier, he's very comfortable in front of the camera. I saw a two-way with him with Peter Ducey from Fox, and Ducey asked him, "Did President Biden leave you a letter?" He said, "I don't know.
I saw that. Yeah,
I guess they leave it in a drawer." And he looks, "Yeah, look at that. There's a letter. Thank you, Peter. I would have known
I'm
this."
gonna have to look at this
yeah,
So
at
Peter
some time.
says, he said, "I'm gonna have to read this." So Ducey says, "Would you read it now?" "Let me read it first."
yeah. He said, "I might not have found that for years."
Yeah, so he's very comfortable in front of the camera. You may not like what he says, but he is very comfortable in
He said,
front of the camera. Right. Doesn't have a great vocabulary,
no, no, no.
but
I felt his inaugural address was basically a mission statement. This is
Yeah,
where we are, and this is where we're going.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that's the mass deportation. I think everybody's on board with that. Remain in Mexico. It's almost a no-brainer if you can do that.
The environmentalists got to be shorting out, though. Sure,
Say
baby
again?
right.
will.
Yeah, the remain in Mexico policy, if we could get that back in place, that makes sense. And all of these asylum seekers, first of all, they should stop in the first country of safety, which, unless you're from Mexico, the first country of safety is not the U.S. It's going to be some other country, Mexico or some other country. It's not going to be the U.S.
But unless you're leaving Mexico, unless you feel Mexico is no longer safe. Now, last year, I was down in Colombia, in Bogota, and
Right.
Mexico City. And I was talking to the people in Bogota saying, well, is it safe here? And I said, oh, yes, it's safe. The cartels are all in Mexico now.
Yeah, yeah. Colombia's fine. I've been down there many times. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the feeling. If you're in Mexico, well, first port of safety is Texas and California and along there.
Right.
There'll be some changes. I
But
like our border,
if you're
our
coming
border
from
zone.
Venezuela, your first country of safety is Colombia,
Right.
not Texas.
Right.
And the second point is, if you're seeking asylum, like you left Venezuela, the only reason to seek asylum, most people come here for a better life, and that's understandable and admirable. And quite honestly, I'd probably do the same thing. But that's not asylum. Asylum is if you're under the threat of death. So that's what asylum means. Asylum is not you coming here for a better life. So that doesn't justify it. Anyway, remain in Mexico policy was reinstated, which is great. He designated the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, which I think who's
I
going
don't
to.
think anybody should have a problem with that.
No, I don't think so. But who knows? Um, the birthright citizenship, he's got to have a problem with that legally because I think I'm pretty sure it says something about that in the Constitution.
Yeah.
But I
You
understand.
could see it get bloody with the cartels.
Say again.
You could see it get bloody with the cartels.
If it has to get bloody, it has to get bloody, but it needs to end.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah,
think he'll send troops into foreign countries to go after the cartels? Isn't that an invasion?
I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know if he'd announce it, but I wouldn't doubt it.
I think before he does that, he'll just um, uh, put up trade barriers. Any
Cartels,
country
the
who
cartels don't
needs,
care about trade barriers.
well, any country needs to sell to the U.S. And if he says to Panama, "Give us the canal, or you're not going to be able to export a bottle cap into the U.S.," Panama will back out. I mean, all their economies are based on selling to the U.S. consumer. We got a trade deficit of $80 billion a month. Every month, we buy $80 billion more than we sell. What country can afford not to sell to the U.S.?
With Panama,
Any country. Panama exports to us.
Global,
yeah,
global trade deficits, yeah.
yeah. Um, no, it's true.
Yeah, he wants to fight economic wars, not shooting wars.
Yeah, but the cartels don't care about tariffs. They don't.
That's right. That's why I think that might get bloody.
Right.
But what'll happen? He'll get the support of the local government, so it won't be an incursion into foreign land as an invasion. It's come help us destroy
Well, I
this
don't know. The
beast
foreign
within.
government's owned by the cartels in
Some of
Mexico.
them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
some of them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where you do what you have to do.
Yeah, that's probably true.
You
He's
know.
that kind of guy too.
Look what we did with ISIS, right? You do what you have to do. We're certainly capable of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's ISIS is a great example. He changed the rules of engagement.
Yeah. Obama said it was going to take 30 years or something. It took like 4 months.
Yeah. Well, under Obama, I remember saying if I was in the army, I would shoot to kill and not to maim because I'd be dealing with the guy's lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the lawyer would be some lawyer from the U.S.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's who we should. I'd like to see bring some people from the ACLU up and say, okay, what are your goals here? Who do you really represent? Are you for constitutional rights for U.S. citizens, or because I've seen some of their actions, doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me.
Well, I mean, foreign terrorists don't have the same rights as U.S. citizens.
Well, I don't know. Tell that to the ACLU.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure they buy that.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
And the other thing is, I think we're going to learn. Here's a prediction for you. I think most of the American public who haven't been in the military are going to come to grips or at least start to learn what the UCLJ is.
Yeah.
Yeah, CMJ.
Uniform Code of Justice, is that it?
Military Justice, Uniform
Yep.
Code of Military Justice.
Yeah.
And then I remember saying to somebody, yeah, well, that's going to come under the UCMJ. And they said, well, what the hell is that? I said, well, it's a whole separate court system. It's got nothing to
Right.
do with the U.S. court system.
Right.
And so the pardon of Miley, General Miley, is a federal pardon, not the military court.
Right. I don't understand.
Subject to the military
I have my
court.
phone on Do Not Disturb. Sorry, guys. I don't know how this got through.
He could be facing a military trial. He could be facing courts martial. Lose his pension, stockade, all that stuff. Yeah, Biden doesn't cover that.
Yes.
Well, guys, I think we've gone through a couple of different scenarios and a couple of different thoughts here, and appreciate you coming on.
All right. Have a good day. Michael, good to talk to you again.
All right. Good talking with you guys.
Thanks, Mike. Be well. Take
Take
care,
care.
guys.